The following is a presentation of SC State Athletics.
The South Carolina State Bulldogs began the 2023 college football season at Center Park Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, home of the Georgia State Panthers, to take on Jackson State in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. The game is nationally televised. Now, it's a rematch of the 2021 Celebration Bowl when the Bulldogs defeated Jackson State 31-10. Now, this game was filled with ironies. Jackson State coach T.C. Taylor, in his first season as head coach, replaced the iconic Deion Sanders, who went off to greener pastures at Colorado. South Carolina State's Pough, entering its 22nd season, the winningest coach ever in South Carolina State history. Now, ironically, Coach Pough earlier last week announced he'd be retiring at the end of the season. Now, the two teams have played 5 times before. Jackson State won the first 2 matchups, South Carolina State the last 3. Can the Bulldogs continue their dominance over the Tigers and make it 4 in a row? We're about to find out. Coming up next on The Buddy Pough Show. And back to court. Gives it to Alex on the right side. Alex bounces it outside in the 40, turns the corner into 45. Adds it field into Morgan State territory. 25-20, 15-10, 5. Takes the break through the 40. 35-30. Johnny Dixon 25-20, 15-10. Johnny Dixon 5. Touchdown, Johnny Dixon. He keeps it himself. Devontae Green got wrapped up and gets him on the turf. We're talking with South Carolina State Bulldog head football coach Buddy Pough in the locker room prior to kickoff the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Coach, of course, you announced last week it's your final season head football coach. What's it feel like going into the first game of the season of your final season as head football coach?
A little bit sad, Ernest. I'm a little bit broken up here today. And I'm looking forward to going out and seeing if we can correct some of our issues from last year. We didn't play quite as well as I would have liked this in the 22 season. So now's our last chance. So, I've got some good guys here working to get us going again. Coach Kevin McGorrick on offense and Coach Thomas Howard on defense, 2 new coordinators. I've got to be patient with them, but at the same time, I need them to come in here and do a great job for us. And at that point, then we are going to go about the task of seeing if we can fix this team and get back to where South Carolina State knows they ought to be.
Coach, you said it many times last season. Anybody listen to us hear you say stop the run, of course, run the football. Talk about that and what strides you made over the course of the offseason to do those 2 things you feel so key to winning.
Well, we think that we've done just that with our defensive approach to things. Coach Howard has come in here. He's going to get us in a little less of a strategic look and a little more of a hands-on look where guys can kind of be in a place and not have to move so much and get a chance to move freely in a way that they don't have to remember so much. So we want to try to get our guys to the point where they really understand exactly what they're doing, which gives them the freedom at that point to be able to really run to the football.
Offensively, Coach Corey Fields comes back. It's got to be a good advantage to kind of have a guy who's experienced. He'll be running things for you at the beginning of the season.
It is. It's always good to have a grown-up in the room, and Corey is that guy. Now we need him to be a little more accurate, and Coach Kevin McGorrick is going to design, our throw attack around a package that'll give him a chance to be, we think, a higher percentage guy. If we can get that done, then we got a chance to run the football better. But it's hard to run the football if you really can't threaten them with the throw game.
Coach, Jackson State has really just transformed this team. 70 new players coming in. How do you prepare for the unknown, which is this Jackson State Tiger team with a new head football coach?
You're exactly right. That's the $55 million question. How do you figure out, exactly where they're coming from, given their circumstances? We've had a chance to study a good bit of where both of their coordinators coached at previously. And if we can use that information and film from those places to give us an idea about at least what the looks are, then at that point, at least we get the scheme. Now, as to what the people will be, we've just gotten their depth charts. And it gives us a pretty good idea that most of the guys who stayed seem to be still playing in their depth chart in a way. So I'm hoping that we've got a pretty good idea. But at the same time, it'll be a see-as-you-go kind of deal.
What's going to be the key to getting a win here in the first game of the season?
As always, being able to run the football on offense and being able to stop the run on D.
All right, Coach. Best of luck today.
Thank you so much, Ernest.
The 2023 MEAC SWAC Challenge is underway. High end over end kick. Jordan Smith fields it at about the 5-yard line. At the 10, at the 15, at the 20. Cuts back at the 10, 20. Across the 25 is driven down right at about the 25-yard line. So a good return of about 19 yards for Jordan Smith, and that's where the Bulldogs will have it. Marquise Bradley, the running back, with the give. Martin gets the first down. Get break speed at the 35, at the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Jackson State from the 6-yard line. South Carolina State showing pressure. Brown back to pass. Brown in trouble. Brown gets away. Big Brown goes down at about the 13-yard line. Patrick Godbolt will get credit. They give it to Howell. Howell puts his head down, gets up to about the 25-yard line, and that has been our best gain of the day. They give it to Howell again. Howell up the middle. Howell gets across the 30-yard line, and I think that's the first down of the season for South Carolina State. Long snap count. Corey gives it to Juwan Howell. Howell gets the first down up at about the 35-yard line, and that's the first down of the season for the Bulldogs. Back to pass is Brown. Brown rolling to his left, throws it out, has a man caught at about the 45-yard line. Football came loose. South Carolina State has it.
Wow, the second fumble, Bulldogs missed recovering the other one. They have this one.
Corey Fields, a quarterback from the shotgun. Howell's back in the game. Shotgun snap, they give it to Howell. Howell trying to get outside. Howell gets to the 40, puts his head down, gets close to the first down marker. Bill goes out of bounds at the 35. 4-down lineman for the Bulldogs, man in motion from right to left. Jason Brown gives it over, keeps it himself, tosses it back to a receiver around the corner on the knees. A receiver around, touchdown, Jackson State. That was Jency Riley, the tight end. 2 receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Shotgun snap for Corey. Corey back to pass, flexes it out to Howell. Got it to him, but too much speed. Jackson State missed the tackle, hit out of bounds. Fields back to pass, straight drop back. Looking long, throws it out there, catches it. Tight end, first down catch by Keyshawn Toney. Shotgun snap to Jason Brown. Handoff, tackled in the backfield. Coming up, making a tackle for the Bulldogs. Coming up behind and making a tackle. Finally, Bulldogs gets some penetration. 8. Shotgun snap, Brown. Gives it to Martin around the right side. He is wrapped up, brought down. I think that was Patrick Godbolt that rode him down. No, I'm sorry, it was Jaden Jones.
Jaden Jones
that rode him down. He snaps good, holds good, toes in it. It is up, and it is looks like it's good. So that is the end of the first half of play here in Atlanta. Matt Biesa, 24-yard field goal. And Jackson State looking good here at the end of the first half. Bulldogs got some work to do, but its game is far from over. All right, Coach, the first half of this football game was about as bad as we could anticipate from the standpoint of things going bad because we just didn't get going offensive. When you go 3 and out in that first possession, that's not a good start.
Exactly. We lost the toss. That was the first bad sign. We go from there to 3 and out on offense, and then Jackson got rolling. We got them stopped that first series. I think they might have turned the ball over or something, or the second series, because I think they scored pretty much early in the game, but at the same time, we did show some sign of life on defense there for a while, and then it got away from us.
Had a situation with a punt. New kid coming in punting the football, dropped his first snap, but Coach, he recovered and managed to scratch himself out of a tough situation, and the defense was playing well at that point.
He did. Max Cobb is his name. He's from Orlando, Florida, Jones High School, and he dropped the first snap, and it was a great snap. And I was good with him because he got through, the situation. Lots of times kids will panic in that particular situation and they end up just falling on it or something like that back close to the goal line. But he actually figured it out and saw that he didn't have much pressure and went on and got it off. So that was a real good reaction for him. So I got kind of confident in him from that point. He almost got another one blocked later, though.
I was going to say he almost got another one blocked later and then able to punt us out of some situations because with that rugby-style punt, he got good rolls, and, of course, it gives your defense a chance.
Exactly, it does. So I think he'll be fine down the road a piece. Right now, it's just a little bit of a learning experience for him.
By that time, though, as you finally get him out of bad field position, they start back at the 7 or 8 yard line, and Jason Brown drives them the distance.
Yeah, well, now that was not pretty. And there were a couple of instances where he got him down the field, and they started hitting us on some big plays. But I got to take my hat off to Coach Taylor and the Jackson State offensive plan. They had a nice plan, and as the game went on, they were able to exploit us in a way where they made us defend the field and had to deal with the run too, and they had to deal with the hurry up also. So there were several instances of different kinds of scenarios or situations that they included into their offensive approach that gave us some problems.
Offensively, we struggled. Corey struggled early and could never really get his footing right, but I was glad he stayed with it toward the end of the ball game. But still, from the standpoint standpoint of there were some struggles offensively.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we actually stuck Corey back in the game, because Andre Washington, who was doing fairly decent himself, had a play where his hat came off. And in that particular situation in college ball, you got to go out for a play. So then Corey goes in and runs it and does just as well. He wants to run the football a little bit more. Now, whether or not that might be, something that we'll explore right now, I'm not sure. But at the same time, he did do a good job of getting us down the field at the end and getting us into the end zone.
There was a situation in the first half, Coach. We ended up being down 14-0, but we could have very well been down 24-0.
Oh, we could have been down a lot more. You're right. Our defense had some stops, or at least stopped them to where they made field goals. But I'm going to tell you, I was really impressed with Jackson State's overall game plan. I thought they did a nice job. They're a little bit ahead of us. They're a lot ahead of us, actually, at this point. And we got our work cut out for us to get to where they are now.
The way the first half ended, South Carolina State trailing Jackson State 17-0. We'll take a time out here on the Bud Pough Show. We'll come back with more after these messages. All right, welcome back to the Buddy Pough Show. It's the Prism Health Injury Report time. But before we do that, Coach, Bulldogs have a new member of the staff, and I don't guess it's not a living person, but I'm talking about Diesel. As last week, South Carolina State unveiled a huge truck, and man, it's going to have an impact on the program.
It is, and if you go out in the parking lot right now, you can see it parked right next to Jackson's truck. Those guys are the ones who actually started doing this kind of stuff at our level. Most of the big guys, the Power 5 guys, had those big trucks, the big semis, and we've got one now, and that should be a neat little billboard or something that we can use for advertisement for years to come as people see that truck riding around the country.
And I understand Robert Porcher and a class of South Carolina State once again contributing to this situation to make this available.
Robert Porcher and the class of 1973, Bill Hamilton's class was the class that actually drove that class. Rodney Jenkins, one of our board members, is really the inspirational leader of that class. He and Jim Sally and some of the rest of those guys, but we really do appreciate them and look forward to having that thing running around the country for the rest of our lives, for sure.
All right, the Prism Health Injury Report now. South Carolina State has some injuries go down. Chandler Mullet goes down, Coach. He started the game at center, but then you got to do some shuffling on that offensive line.
Yeah, we had to move some guys around, and we actually moved Chandler around because we had another guy, too, that was kind of not here for different other reasons. But we lost Nick Tace on and off during the game with a cramp deal. This time of year, as hot as it is, you're going to have some cramping and that kind of stuff. Then at about the same time, we lost Zan Dunham for I guess for the rest of the game. I'm hoping not for a long time, but Zan's one of our outside linebackers from Chester, South Carolina, and he got banged up a little bit. I think he hurt his ankle. And Caleb Brown, our long snapper, was down for a little while. He had a little bit of an issue. I think that might be it.
Well,
but now,
that's enough for a first game.
I guarantee you that was a lot of guys for an early part of the year. So we're going to have some real doctoring to do on these guys this week.
All right, that is your Prism Health Injury Report for the South Carolina State Jackson State game. We'll take a time out here on the Buddy Pough Show. When we come back, we'll talk about the second half of the Bulldogs in their first game of the season against the Jackson State Tigers in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Back with more after this timeout. Cobb approaches the freshman. His toe is in it. It is high. It is short. Rico Powers lets it hit the ground, and Rico Powers picks it up at about the 20, gets outside, cuts back now. Good return across the 35-yard line to the 36-yard line. Bulldogs showing blitz off the edge. Brown back to pass, straight drop back. Brown doesn't see the guy coming behind him. Sacked. That is, who was that? That was Patrick Godbout with his first sack of the season. Shotgun formation. Brown. Play action fake. Brown throws it out there. Got him in out there. Wide open touchdown. DJ Stevens. Back to pass. Fields throws it out there. Caught. First down. Jordan Smith gets it up at about the 41-yard line. Brown on the other side. Pass complete. Across the 40 to 45 at the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Jackson State. Fields rolling to his right. Pocket moving. Flips it out there. It's intercepted.
Oh, my goodness.
Intercepted. Fields had a man open. Washington with the handoff. Gives it to Howell. Howell stays on his feet. Howell spinning. Bill, he got all the way up to the 35-yard line. That's a 10-yard run. Washington keeps it himself, gets up the field, breaks the tackle at 50 into Jackson State territory. Nice to see Corey get a completion here. Keeps it himself, goes up the middle. Corey gets a good gain up to about the 45-yard line. Snap back to Corey on the end around to give. And a good pickup for South Carolina State and still on the move. Maybe the longest run of the night. Shotgun snap. Corey back to pass. Looking. Corey's in trouble. Corey's having to run. Corey's going to try to take it himself at the 5. Corey reaches for the pylon. Got there, and they're going to mark him at the 2-yard line. Corey back to pass. Corey looking. Corey throwing. Got a man out there. It is caught. Touchdown. Keyshawn Toney. What a beautiful pass and reception. So Brown takes a knee, and the clock will wind down, and that's going to do it. Jackson State gets the win over South Carolina State, 37-7. All right, welcome back to the Buddy Pough Show. South Carolina State down 17-0 to the Jackson State Tigers. Coach talked about it on the first part of the show that Jackson State won the toss. That means they began with possession of the second half, and so the first possession of the second half so critical to get back in this game, and we could not get those guys off the field.
You're exactly right. They hurt us with the little play action off of the zone ball, and they get you to have to come in and play the run, and then they got these real fast wideouts outside, and they run little short routes, and they either block you out there or run by you, and they did a nice job. They matched us up poorly. Our secondary is really young, and in some cases, not quite up to speed in some of the RPO kinds of run stuff, and those guys have done a nice job of mixing that part of their offense in. So we end up giving up 2 scores right at the beginning of the second half. And from that point, then we kind of fighting for our lives.
You start talking about that secondary, though, Coach. There were some bright spots. A couple freshman kids on the corners got one-on-one matchups and really stood tall. Now, granted, some plays there were penalties on. Jackson State played through, and your corners had to still make plays. And those young kids really came through and made some decent plays.
You're right. Mike Brunson from over at Calhoun County started for us at one corner. We had Jayon Allen playing for us a good bit. Jayon from down at Beaufort is a redshirt freshman. We ended up using him, I guess, for most of the game. Jamar Benjamin from up at Spartanburg, South Carolina, is the other corner that played a good bit. And those guys continuously kind of went in and out and worked around to the point where they got pretty good work done. Now, the bad part about it was we ended up giving some big plays and that kind of stuff. The good part about it is they got great experience in this particular game. So we'll see, I think, these guys continuously improve. And then our safeties, DeMarcus Doe and Jalen Evans.
Malcolm
McGee, those guys, they seem to be hanging in there pretty good, but at the same time, we got to continue to improve that whole group, because those guys will continue to see some of the same concepts that we saw today against Jackson.
Offensively, try to find some positives, and one of the positives, Andre Washington came in the game, played well. Andre Washington lost his helmet, as Coach mentioned earlier, had to go out of the game. Corey Fields came in, Coach, and showed a lot of poise to lead the team down the field and threw one of the best balls of the night.
He did. Corey did a nice job of getting his offensive run game going, and a good bit of that was based around his running some for us, and he's never really been a guy that we could depend on that way. And I can tell you, he now, at the end of his career now, seems to want to try to really explore that avenue. And if that be the case, then we need to at least check it out. It seemed to help his effectiveness a good bit as far as his overall approach to the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what we do as an offense from this point on to give ourselves a chance to, get this game going, get this offense going.
A couple years ago, Florida A&M found themselves in the same position, getting blown out in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, came back to win 9 or 10 games in a row, Coach. Looking for something positive. You got to put this one behind you. You got Charlotte next week. That's perhaps a winnable situation on the road up at Charlotte. New coach, new team, and, of course, a new game, and I'm sure you can't wait to get back out of it.
Exactly right. But now what I'm telling our guys is we got to continue to improve in our overall concept of the entire team. And then at that point, then we can get on to the point where we can get ourselves ready for the conference. That's 6-8 weeks away from now. We've got 5 conference games at the back of our schedule. So this team can continue. I really feel good about our running back depth, some of the guys that we got in our secondary. I think that our upfront personnel in both cases, our offensive and defensive lines, are at least better than average. And let's face it, our quarterbacks could be really decent, good football players. So we got no reason for this team not to be as good as any South Carolina State team we've had in a while. So I feel good about the fact that we can continuously get better, and then at the end of the year, maybe get ready for that last 5 conference games.
All right, we're going to take a time out here on the Buddy Pough Show. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up and tell you what's up next for your South Carolina State Bulldogs. All right, welcome back to the Buddy Pough Show. South Carolina State going down to defeat in the MEAC SWAC Challenge in Jackson State, 37-7. Coach, you got to turn the page on this one because the Charlotte 49ers are waiting next week, and this is a team that's going through a lot of changes as well. They got a new coach and new personnel.
You're exactly right. They've got resources too. So in a situation where you get a school of that sort with all of those different kinds of things going for them, and then we don't know much about them, so we try to play another game in the blind of sorts. So we are really, first of all, going back to the drawing board for our own self. We got to do some things to really change our own approach to some things. But at the same time, we got to still get ready for Charlotte and and their style, the 49ers.
Well, folks, we're looking forward to seeing you next week when South Carolina State heads across the state line to take on the Charlotte 49ers. And, of course, next week, right here on the Buddy Pough Show.